God, the creator and giver of life. What I mean by life is any and every manner of substance, seen and unseen, what can and can't be touched, thoughts, images, emotions, love, atoms, oceans, and God. The one thing that was made in his imagery, which was God's masterpiece, is when he breathed into man and he became a living soul, formed with the intent of being infinitely intimate with God, where creation and creator hold an eternal bond. Man was placed in a garden to steward the land and creatures with God. Yet the fall happened and species in deceit began to lust after man's job. Then with the same breath God graciously gave us, used to curse man from the garden. Then that seed of sin impacted humanity's history, that every infant is born into a cursed land. By nature, your species, we participated in the mutiny, separation from God, its nature inherited. We were black before we even came into the world. Every religion in the world agrees that there is something wrong with us. But the question is, we ask today, what is it and how do we fix it? The problem is sin. It's like a cancer or asthma choking our life for the separation from a perfect, holy God. Yet silly us, always trying to pass the course of life without a syllabus, doing deeds and expressing on the outside how good we are. The concept of religion is how good is good enough. The truth that your own attempt to perfection is an unveiling of your own selfishness. However, this is what God says is part A of the gospel. Sin brings death. So as you choose sin, you are giving God back the very breath of life he used to create you. You owe him everything, eternally separated from him. The only way to fix it is to have someone die in your place. That someone has to be perfect and pure, innocent and blameless. Clearly, the only person who fits this criteria was God himself, so God came to us through Jesus to pay the cost of sin for us. His righteousness and his death functions as payment for our debt. He wrote a check with his life, and through resurrection the check cleared. Paying the price for sin, Jesus died and rose again. Pierced feet, pierced hands, blood-stained Son of Man, fullness of forgiveness, free passage into the everlasting presence of God. That same breath God gave us, he chose to give it up to redeem us. Anyone and everyone who puts their trust in him alone has eternal life given to him. They can stand in full confidence of God's forgiveness, no guilt, no shame, no condemnation, and no separation. The inheritance of acceptance is that you have full access to eternal unity with the King, no more an orphan or a stranger. By simply believing and receiving Christ and Christ alone, you receive life. This is the gospel, but the story isn't finished. It goes on. Yes, God is returning once again. After the resurrection, he ascended into heaven, but he gave a command to his disciples. Go into all the world and preach the good news and make disciples in every nation. Why? Because he will return, and when he returns, he desires to have a pure and spotless bride redeemed by his perfect love in union with his grand plan of reigning together in infinite intimacy. When you receive God's mercy and grace, you become a part of his family. So I encourage you, find a church near you and ask them to help you get started on this new journey of doing life the way you were created and designed for. Thank you for watching.